All right, we are live. This is a spontaneous juice opinions on a Tuesday night, almost Wednesday. So this is for my West Coast brothers and sisters. Sorry about everyone else, but I had a headache earlier. Took some ibuprofen and fell asleep for a couple hours. So now I'm wide awake, and I thought, well, what the hell am I gonna do? I figured I'd just do this. So in between the PS5 launch and the Xbox Series X launch, and I'm just gonna give my opinions on pros and cons for each system based on reviews, facts, stuff we've found out, the last week or so. I kind of did this already in my last Juice Opinions, but it was like an hour and 45, 2 hour thing, and I just kind of randomly did it in the middle. So I want to just make this specific one. I don't, just because of the day and the timing of this, I don't know how many people are going to watch this live, but for the upload people, let's just get in. Well, just want to start too saying this isn't, if somebody clicked on this isn't, there is no fanboying, even though I have my Xboxes in the background. I only have the PS4 Pro. I don't have any other PlayStations. I got the first three Xboxes, and eventually I'll have the fourth one, and then may or may not try to sell some of these two over here. But either way, this isn't fanboying. There's no bias. I've supported Microsoft and the Xbox way more than PlayStation, but at this point, it's just all about which one am I buying first. I'm going to have them both at some point. I had the PS4 and the Xbox One now for 2 years together. I had the PS4 base model in 2016. I got the Pro. Was it 2019? Yeah, 2019. But yeah, so just going to give my thoughts. I'm going to get both at some point. But at the same time, I can acknowledge both of them have a pretty weak launch lineup, to the point where I would say, like I said in the Juices Loose podcast, it's one of the worst launch lineups that I've ever seen. Especially the Xbox is the worst of the worst. At least the PS5 has a few exclusives and the promise of more new games coming sooner. But in the here and now, I asked on the Juiceless podcast if you could win, or if you won a next gen console, which one would you pick and why? And we all six of us picked the PS5 for different reasons. I've been thinking about that more and more, and I was like, well, if I'm just going to look at it, objectively, I would choose to get the Xbox Series X for free, because I kind of mentioned at the end of the podcast, then if I bought the PS5 with my own money, I have a PS4 Pro to sell to recoup, to get at least, I would guess, 220, maybe 240 back. So just financially speaking, it would make more sense to get the Series X for free if I could choose, and then buy a PS5 and sell my PS4 Pro, and it would be the cheapest option to have both systems. That's honestly my answer. But I guess at the time, and it's like a coin flip, like I said, it juggles back and forth. These systems are both like neck and neck for different reasons, but not because they're both great or they both suck. It's just they're both good, and they have their quirks and stuff. But I would feel better right now putting my money on a Series X, just because of the pros that I'm going to list. But it's so close, honestly. I just then I think about, well, I'd love to play Astro's Playroom. Maybe I'd get Demon's Souls. I've been playing Spider-Man all day today, and I'm kind of gotten past a point where it was more repetitive, tedious stuff, and now I'm having a little bit more fun with the missions. So I was like, well, I'd get Miles Morales with a price drop. I wouldn't pay $50 for it, but I could easily see picking that up for $30-$40. So yeah, I mean, there's just a few games I can't get you can get Miles Morales on the PS4, but at the same time, it's like, why would I buy a PS4 version of anything, even though that one does have a free upgrade system in place? But anyway, let's get into it. PS5 versus Series X, pros and cons. And let's just start with the pros. We'll start with the Series X. I don't know, man. I don't follow, and I'm not really sure. I did get it. Someone said something earlier today about something going on, but whatever. It's not. This isn't the time or place. Difference of opinions, led to a falling out, basically. So, yeah, pros. Series X is just, the hardware is just locked in. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no questions. HDMI 2.1 support 100%. No question about it. Dolby Atmos, support there. For someone like me who has two Dolby Atmos setups in my house, that's kind of important. Getting to the nitty-gritty tech, which I don't even know all the details, but AMD's new RDNA 2 architecture, Series X has full support. PS5 only has some of the features. But that being said, I don't expect to see much in the way of difference between Series X and PS5 games, cross-platform games, or exclusives. Just look at the PS4 Pro. It's 66% the power of the Xbox One X. But look at God of War, look at Last of Us Part 2, look at Spider-Man, compared to the best of the best on the Xbox One X, like Gears 5 and Forza Horizon 4. You can't tell me that one 66% the power of the other. It's so close. And with these new systems, the PS5's 80% the power of the Series X. So they're just gonna be really close. But that being said, the Series X hardware is just, bar none, it's solid. The design of the system, while not flashy or anything, it's just very utilitarian, functional, but built. Well, we don't know about the actual build quality, but we know, Microsoft always has the current and future technologies covered. Like I said, HDMI 2.1 features 100%. I have an HDMI 2.1 TV with my LG OLED, 120 hertz display, 4K, variable refresh rate, all that stuff is supported. So that's far and away the best selling point for the Series X. And then the power, obviously. It's the most powerful, so you should see the best version, whether it's minimal or not. You shouldn't see a worse version of a multi-plat on the Series X. It just would make no sense. Pro for the PS5, and when I last said this, I wasn't aware that the battery life's a little questionable, 4 to 8 hours, not 48 hours. But the controller, to me, is still the most intriguing thing and the most enticing thing about the PlayStation 5. Trying something completely new with adaptive triggers where the pressure changes, using a little motor. Now that we know more how it works, it looks really cool. Like, I'd have to play it to really know, but from all the reports it's a really cool new, level to playing games. A new way to play it exactly, because it's still a trigger, but something we've never seen before, basically. Like rumble, like analog sticks, like the home button. Maybe this will be the standard moving forward, because everyone won't want to go back to a standard trigger after this, or it just people grow tired of it and just turn it off and I want a regular trigger. We don't know, but that's the most intriguing part of the PlayStation 5. And you might say, well, if that's your number one pro, then that's lame. But at the same time, a controller is, Nintendo fans especially, we always gave Nintendo props for controller innovations, for pushing the way you play forward and not just recycling the old same controller over and over. And Xbox guys love to, and I was one of these, love to shit on the DualShocks. 1, 2, and 3 were all identical. I got a sneeze coming, damn it. Hold on. I haven't sneezed all freaking day. Maybe once. But, I was right there. DualShock 1, 2, and 3. Identical, basically, shape. Tiny, not very ergonomic controllers. I never did love. They finally changed with the PS4. That's what really sold me on the system. And it's like, oh, my nose is going to run. Hold on. Sony took a big step forward with the DualShock 4. And now they're doubling down on controller innovations and now the shape of the DualSense. You could say it's closer to the Xbox controller, but I haven't held one. I don't know that for sure, but that's not a bad thing either. But then, doubling down on features, adaptive triggers, and the new haptics, which is like HD Rumble 3.0, speaker, microphone, touchpad, it's got it all. And I really wish Microsoft would have done something like at least gyro. DualShock or DualSense has gyro as well. So it has all these features that won't be utilized for every game, but there will be some games that use it, and it's going to, in my opinion, if there's a multi-plat and it's like, oh, this one really, the haptics and the triggers are used really well, let's say in the next Tomb Raider or whatever, but Series X version looks a little bit, runs at a little higher resolution, I'm going to go with the PS5 version. That's, to me, that's a selling point. So that's probably the biggest pro for me with the PS5. So Series X, next thing would be the backwards compatibility. It's like we've never seen before. It's just covers base Xbox, which I have a few games to my left. I don't know what shows up on your guys' screen. Forza Motorsports and Halo, which I wouldn't play Forza. And then got some 360 games. I got Project Gotham Racing. I have a decent selection of original Xbox. I have a 20-something 360 games, and I only have 3 Xbox One games, all digital. But if I got the Series X, which I was going to say this in the beginning, I didn't get one this morning. For those of you watching it now, but if you're watching this later, I didn't get one. I got up at 4:40 or 4:30, and I kind of lingered, had breakfast, and then I got to the Myers at about 5:10, and there was 6 people in line, and there was 6 Xbox One X's. They had 7 Xbox One X's. They had 6 Xbox Series X's and 7 Xbox Series S's, and there were 6 people in line. Somebody had just left because they found out they couldn't get an X. I found out I couldn't get X. I left, and then the person who was pulling up, he left. No one was waiting for the S. They had more S's than X's, and I'm sure eventually somebody got in line that wanted the S, but so I didn't get one. I tried. I wasn't that concerned about it, but I put some effort in. I got up early. I tried, and I didn't get it. So, but anyways, backwards compatibility. That's a really cool thing. I got Dead Space 2, which got an Xbox One X upgrade, but I never had that One X, so I actually look forward to playing through that game again. I only played through it one time. Didn't like it as much as the original, but I still liked it. And then I would actually buy some Xbox One versions of games like Resident Evil 3 when on Black Friday. I'm torn now because if I don't know when I'll be able to get a Series X, but I'm thinking about building up some Xbox One games physical so that when I get the Series X, I'll have something to play. So Resident Evil 3 is one of them. Gears 5, I'm going to see if that drops down to like $20 or something. I'll probably pick that up. And then like Jedi Fallen Order, if that goes cheap enough. Just a few Xbox One games. Whereas for PS5, I'm not going to go pick up the PS4 version because so far there hasn't been a whole lot of upgrades. And it's not just the backwards compatibility. It's also with the upgrades like Auto HDR, The frame rate, if the game ran with an unlocked frame rate, it just automatically gets boosted, which PS5 does that for PS4 games, but Xbox Series X does it for Xbox 360, and Xbox One games. So that's a big selling point. The PS5, the next is just that the games we've seen so far, like even the cross-gen, like Miles Morales, they look really good, like surprisingly good. Wasn't expecting to see like a full ray traced game, running at 4K, 30 frames per second at launch. Honestly, Devil May Cry 5, they didn't go quite as far or optimize it quite as well, but it's got a pretty decent ray tracing mode that runs at 60. Then there's 120 frames per second mode, which isn't great, but the games we've seen look good. Demon Souls looks phenomenal, has a 60 frames per second mode that looks way better than I expected a 60 frames per second game to look at launch on the PS5. Ratchet and Clank, we've seen that's a 30 frames per second, but I think that's going to have a 60. I think 60 frames is going to be an option on most games, but Ratchet and Clank visually looks amazing. So the games we've seen have looked really impressive. The Series X, we've seen Halo, and it didn't look impressive, and we haven't seen anything else. Yeah, I'm sure Ori's going to look phenomenal. It runs at 6K native and then downscaled to 4K, 120 frames per second. I know that's going to look gorgeous, but that game came out in March, like I've been playing it on my PC at 1440p, 100, I don't know what it runs at, 120 to 140 frames per second. I've already seen it, look good. But they haven't shown us what Flight Simulator. They mentioned it's coming to the Series X. We haven't seen it. None of the other games have been shown, and we don't know when they're coming out, which I'll get into in the cons. But PS5 games, what we've seen so far, have looked really impressive. So that's and just kind of tying into that, 2021, we already know about some games. God of War, yeah, it might get delayed, but they're planning 2021. I think Ratchet and Clank's almost guaranteed to be out next year, and then Horizon, what's it called? I forget what it's called. That has a chance of being out next year. So then you got Kana. It's kind of an indie game, but that's coming out next year. It was already shown. It's PC and PS5. Looks phenomenal. So PS5 games are looking good that we've seen, and there's some coming out next year. Whereas on Xbox, we don't know. We really don't know, other than Halo, what to expect next year. So lastly, for Series X, I would say the quick resume is a huge deal too. Not just for Horizon Forbidden West, thanks. Quick resume isn't just for playing 5 games in the same night. It's like earlier I was playing Spider-Man on PS4, and then I downloaded that Genshin Impact or whatever, free to play, just to see how much of a Zelda clone it was, and it doesn't really play like Breath of the Wild. It looks very similar in some aspects. They added climbing, which is straight out of Breath of the Wild, and I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. Played it for an hour, and I was like, let me go back to Spider-Man. I'm gonna try to beat Spider-Man this week with my having a week off. Now I'm not gonna get a new system like I was planning. But it would be nice just to be able to jump back and forth, But I had to reload up Spider-Man, which doesn't have the loading times aren't bad in Spider-Man, but still had to reboot that. And I was like thinking about playing another game. I actually played Rocket League a little bit, so I had to just cold boot 3 games and then go back to Spider-Man. So quick resume, basically, like, what's the last time I played Ori? A while ago on my Xbox One S, and if I got to Series X, I would probably start Gears 5. Like I said, pick up Resident Evil 3, and then the next time I turn on Ori, if it boots up in 5 seconds and takes me right where I left off, like, that's a huge deal. I don't care who you are. If you're saying that's not a huge deal, then you just don't value your time. Like, some of these games have 2-3 minute boot ups if you do a cold start, and you can't always just suspend one game. I mean, you can, but it's not very likely that you're going to be able to keep that going for a couple weeks. For someone like me, it takes a month or two to beat a game like Last of Us Part 2, so I just didn't play any other game, so I didn't have to reload that game. So with Quick Resume, that goes all out the window. You can just, whenever you get back to that game, as long as you didn't play 20 games in between, it'll be right there where you left off. So that's like, and that gets back to just the hardware. Overall, the pros of the Series X are all hardware related. Well, backwards compatibility is kind of a software thing, but it's just it seems to be a well thought out, well designed system. Basically, PS5. I put the UI in there when they first showed it off, but I don't know. Seeing some hands-on with it, it doesn't seem to be that big of a change. I do like that they're still trying new things with the card system. Someone said, what game was it? They did all like the bonus challenges of a game. They just did the card system, take them right to where they needed to go. The hint system, which is part of PlayStation Plus, you can the friends party system, you can view what your friends are playing. There's some cool little things in there. I like that they're trying new stuff, and it's not just relying on the exact OS that the last system had, like what Xbox did. It's not a negative, but I don't really love that. I never liked that UI, but it's not a negative. It's more of a in between. It's a neutral. I'll put that in the neutral category for Xbox. They didn't change the OS, and I kind of don't like it currently. But anyway, so the PS5 is not necessarily, the UI isn't like a huge deal. It looked, the first time I saw it, I was like, that's cool. They're trying new things. I'm happy about that. But I don't know how much of an impact it actually will be in the long run. So let's go to, before we go to cons, there are some neutral. Like for me, the controller for the Series X is in the neutral category. It's not bad. It's not a pro. It's not a con. They didn't change anything. They added a share button and then a few minor tweaks. I almost want to put it as a con because I'd love it if all three major console manufacturers had gyro in their controllers. And I kind of wish Microsoft would have did it, but I can't really put it as a con. So I'll put it in the neutral. I'll put the OS in the neutral. For the PS5, in the neutral, I guess it's not really the shape of the system. I mean, it's not a pro or a con for me. I don't love it. I don't hate it like a lot of people. So it's not, I guess it would fall in the middle. But I guess for cons, we'll start with PS5. The upgrade confusion / inconsistency for PS4 games getting upgraded to PS5. The best one is Days Gone, which if you install it to the PS5 SSD, you get the usual load times, but it also adds a 4K 60 frames per second mode that really cleans up the image, and it runs at a lock 60 and looks really good in the videos I've seen. That's the only one. The other game that got a 60 frames per second option is Ghost of Tsushima, but it didn't necessarily say if it was a 4K option. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I guess those two are the front runners. Then you got Last of Us Part 2, came out this year. 0 update. There's nothing. It just runs in PS4 Pro mode. Load times are marginal. Marginally better. It's nothing. No game-changing thing. God of War, nothing. PS4 Pro mode. Spider-Man, if you don't buy the Miles Morales upgrade, it's just the PS4 Pro version. These are the three of your biggest games. And you didn't have PS5 upgrades ready for launch? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's the one thing about the Xbox One X, or One X, Series X. Yeah, it doesn't have any new launch games, but and maybe that's why they made sure that they had 3, 4, or 5 major titles get significant upgrades. Do I think that it'd be hard to get a PS5 at launch? Yeah, other than pre-orders, you just have to get lucky with an online store. There's no walk-ins, there's no getting in line. You just have, and Target won't tell you the time they're gonna open the orders. Newegg site crash for the Series X, so it'll probably do the same for PS5. GameStops, Best Buys, all of them. You just got to figure out when they go available and try to get it online. I think it's going to be impossible to get a PS5. I might try just half-heartedly, at midnight, see if anything goes live, but I don't really care if I don't get one. But yeah, I was talking about the cons. So the fact that, like I said, The Last of Us Part 2 came out this year wasn't your flagship backwards compatible free upgrade title just boggles my mind. If they put out a Last of Us Part 2 remastered or announce it before I buy hopefully before I buy a PS5, because then I won't buy a PS5 until the thing's $300. I can't accept that if that becomes a reality. If there ain't a free patch, a free upgrade to take advantage of the PS5 for some of these big games, especially if you bought it this year and they think they're going to resell the game. Now, this isn't like the PS3 and PS4 situation because there's no backwards compatibility. There was no Xbox doing free upgrades. Your competition's doing it. You better fucking do it. I've been holding off on a second playthrough of The Last of Us because I just expected there to be a PS5 upgrade. Maybe there will be, but they haven't announced it. If they announce a remaster, though, then you're not getting my money till that PS5 is $300, which will probably be a revision at that point, and it'll be a smaller, different looking system. So the fact that there's question marks about that is definitely the biggest con for the PS5. Biggest con for the Xbox Series X, I said in the beginning, no new games. Not just at launch, unless you count the Falconeer. There is no dates for anything. There's no release years other than Halo Infinite, probably 2021. Avowed, Fable, Hellblade 2, even Forza Motorsports, the next one was early in development. They said that probably be out next year, but don't know. What else is there? State of Decay 3 was shown. CGI. Like, there is nothing scheduled for 2021 beyond Halo Infinite, which I don't feel is going to look any better or be any... I mean, it'll look a little bit better, but I don't expect it to be be an amazing game when it finally comes out. There's just nothing on the horizon that we know about. Maybe they launch something, and I don't care. I don't count buying Bethesda and Bethesda had a game coming out or something because there's 2 Bethesda games that are PS5 exclusives that are coming out next year. I think they're next year. One might be this year. I'm not sure. So buy a Series X now without even a glimmer of the future for new games is kind of scary. So that's definitely the biggest con. Next, I would say for PS5, just the size of the system, that's a con for sure, because you might not even have a place to put this damn thing. You might have to wall mount your TV just so you can have your PS5 somewhere, so it's definitely inconvenient. I have room. It doesn't have any heat coming off the top, so you can have it pretty tight against. It's all out the back, so you just can't have it tight to the back of something. Capable tie. What exclusives would be a system seller for you from either? A system seller for PS5 would have been... I mean, Astro's Playroom, if it was a full game, would have been a system seller. I still really just want to play that game, but like the sequel to God of War, if that had come out, that would have been a system seller for sure. Gravity Rush 3, they wouldn't have done that, but if they did, that'd be a system seller. Honestly, Last of Us Part 2 with like a free major PS5 upgrade, that would have been... If they had announced that earlier, I would have waited probably to play the game. As far as Xbox system seller, if they had Flight Simulator ready at launch, I do want to continue playing that game. I played it through Game Pass on PC, and I don't have it anymore, so that would have been a pretty nice little system seller for me. I guess the other thing would be Forza Horizon 5 would have been awesome. Love Forza Horizon 4. It's probably the best. It is the best racing game I've ever played, ever owned. It's phenomenal. Best open world racing game easily. Love that game. Probably start it over when I get a Series X because there's nothing else. I might try Dirt 5 though. Other than that, Xbox doesn't have like franchises. Hellblade 2, if that would have been something, that would have been a system seller for me, depending on the direction they took of the game. But Microsoft first party hasn't really been why I buy Xbox. It's usually the third parties that's what enticed me to get the original Xbox. Seeing like the NASCAR games, seeing NFL 2K5, it was like, that's when I bought the system, was when 2K5, or maybe it was the year before, but either way, seeing these third party games like for the 360, seeing BioShock, seeing Dead Space, and being envious as a Wii owner of these games. It's usually why I buy a 360. Xbox One, I went and bought. My buddy got it for me. Glad he did, because I enjoyed a couple games, but I didn't. Basically, the Xbox One S is like the Switch at this point. It's the worst version of multiplats by quite a bit. Visually, glitchy. It's not the lead platform. So, let's see. Any other cons I'm trying to think of? I know there's some issues with PS5. The hard drive space, 667 gigs, definitely a con. Xbox has 805 or 802, whatever. So they both don't have as much as what my PS4 Pro has. Like, what is it, 880 out of the 1 terabyte? So that's a negative. The battery life of the controllers, kind of a negative, 4 to 8 hours, depending on the game and what your settings are on the haptics and the adaptive triggers. Another con for me personally, the PS5 does not have full HDMI 2.1 support, so it doesn't do at currently the variable refresh rate. It's a game by game basis. It's not just built into the hardware. The 120 frames per second thing's not built into the hardware. You can't just let it know that your TV's 120 hertz and automatically plays the games like that. Which I don't know exactly how it works on Series X. It doesn't have Dolby Atmos support. There's been no talk of the streaming services and stuff, how that's going to work. So that's kind of disappointing. And I forgot to say this in the beginning. I wasn't going to cover the Series S because I think that is an insignificant console in this discussion. 360 gigs. It basically runs some games. It runs as base PS4. Rocket League's running at 1080p 60. Base PS4 specs. Low battery life isn't a huge con. Because everybody's different. I'm not gonna play a game for more than 4 hours, like from start to finish. Today I played now it's yesterday. I played probably 4 hours of PS4 total, but it was in 2 different sessions, and it wasn't like intense gameplay. But I only charge my PS4 controller about every third 3 to 4 play sessions. I can't remember the last time I used it. It was on 2 out of 3 bars, and I played for about 4 hours total for the day, and it was on 1 bar, but it wasn't red, it wasn't low battery signal or anything. So I haven't really had an issue with my PS4's battery. And if Capable Ty, I know you had a Wii U. I made this point in the group chat, took a little heat for it, but I felt excited when my gamepad almost got 3 hours one time. I turned the speaker off, I turned Rumble off, I put the brightness of the screen at 3 out of 5, and I got 3 hours. I was like pumped. It was like just under, it was like 2 hours and 55 minutes or something. I was so excited. And that wasn't even playing like a gamepad intensive game where I was using the touchscreen or anything. So as a Nintendo fan, I find it a little hypocritical to be concerned about 4 to 8 hours when the gamepad was 2 to 3. Yeah, it had a screen on it, which you may or may not have actually been using for a game, still ate the battery. Whereas the DualSense, if you're, let's say the adapter triggers, this isn't all it cracked up to be. You can turn them off. I mean, that's probably going to increase your battery life right there by an hour or two. When your battery runs out, you can charge at and play still, and the battery goes up too. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long the cord will be. If it's only like 5 foot, that's going to be inconvenient. Someone who has a 65-inch TV, I need at least like a 9 to 10 foot cord to play and charge at the same time. Yeah, I mean, the Pro Controller was amazing, but you couldn't play. There's games you had to have the gamepad for some of the functions. Pikmin 3, you had to use the gamepad to use the map. Honestly, I moved my charging pack for the gamepad next to my couch, and I played that wired for almost 2 years until I got the extended battery. Like, that was a wired controller, and it just had to be. So, I mean, I can live with a 4 to 8 hour if the features are as cool as people are saying they are. So cons, let's see, more cons for the Series X. For me personally, Rocket League isn't free to play. You have to have Xbox Live to play online. Yeah, Game Pass isn't, to me, it's a non-factor. I'll get into that a little bit, but anyway, cons. What was it? Oh, Rocket League. You can play it offline. You can download it, practice and stuff, but you try to play it online, you need Xbox Live. It's the only system you have to pay for Xbox Live. It's getting 120 frames per second option. PS5 apparently isn't at this point, but you have to have Xbox Gold membership to play Rocket League and any other free-to-play games, which sucks. What was the other con for the Series X other than games? And that might be it. I mean, nothing. You got to have gold to join parties. Yeah, I knew that. I thought I could just play online, though. I would go to play Rocket League when I went free to play, and it didn't let me. Said I didn't. It took me to the Xbox Gold purchase screen multiple times. And then someone told me that was the same thing for Fortnite, that you couldn't play online. So I guess I should look into that a little further, but at this point, that's how it works on the Xbox One S. So yeah, I mean, really, the big one is games for a Series X. So that's a huge one. Like, that one's undeniable. That's why you buy a system. Yeah, I could get by for a few months on backwards compatibility and pick up some Xbox One games I didn't play. But next year, the Series X gonna be collecting a lot of dust if there's not, other than some multiplats. I'm not looking for Cyberpunk because The Witcher 2 and 3 didn't really move me. I didn't play them, neither of them. I played probably both of them total 2 hours. For The Witcher 2, I probably played 2 to 3 hours of The Witcher 3. I don't really get into that. It just didn't do anything for me. So the Cyberpunk, I'd probably be the same story. Nothing I've seen from the gameplay looks interesting at all in that game. So there's not a big new multiplat coming out that I'd be like, all right, I gotta have that on Series X. Like, if I was into Cyberpunk, then that would be a huge reason for me to, to have one by then. But I think that comes out December 12th or something. But yeah, so either way, if I had gotten a chance, I would have bought the Series X today. If there had been one less person in line, I would have stood there for an hour and got one. I would have got home, went to bed. I wouldn't even opened it. I might not even opened it until, I was sure, I was still debating. Do I want to trade this for a PS5, or do I want to, try to sell it to make a little money? Like, I was thinking that when I was driving there this morning or yesterday morning. But if I got it, I'm sure I would use it, but it'd be kind of like my Xbox One S at this point. It would be my streaming box, it'd be my 4K Blu-ray player, and it would probably collecting a little bit of dust when it comes to new games. If I get the PS5, then I'm giving up some features that my TV has, like variable refresh rate and a little bit of inconsistency on the HDMI 2.1, some of the other features, the auto low latency mode, which is a nice selling point, because if I'm going to watch 4K Blu-rays on a system, I don't want it to be in game mode, and I don't want to have to switch it each time. So that's another little inconvenience if I ended up getting the PS5. It's not a huge deal, first world problems, but it is what it is. The other thing is, the lack of free upgrades. So I feel like I'm missing out. Do I sell my PS4 Pro, or which would be a plus because I could. That would be an option to get some money back, but at the same time, I don't feel like it's like, all right, goodbye to all my old systems, as much as Series X. I'm trying to sell my copy of 3D All-Stars. I have it sealed. I never opened. I bought two. I sold one right away, made $13 on that. And I'm trying to sell my other copy for $55. I got it at Walmart. I paid $52 something each for them. And I'm getting no bites. I might have to take a couple dollar loss, try to sell it for $50. And then I'd made $10 total on both copies. But trash. It's trash. They put no effort into that. So anyway, I don't really have anything else. Again, I think both systems have their pros and cons, pluses and minuses. I don't think one's has a huge lead over the other in any categories. I think the games are going to look very similar. I think PS5 exclusives are going to look amazing. I think Series X exclusives are going to look amazing. Sell it for $80. Yeah, 3D All-Stars is the most, like, the game at Best Buy. Has the most copies. There was 2 sections that were three or 4 wide. Let's say the game's case is 3-4 wide, front to back, probably 7 or 8 deep, in 2 different areas at Best Buy. No other game had that many copies. The thing is just, they lied when they said it was going to be limited supply. They lied. Limited supply at 10 million. It was limited. They're not going to produce more than 10, 15 million probably, but it's not limited. So I was hoping to make some nice money off that damn 3D All-Stars. Not going to lose money, but wasn't really worth it. So yeah, I mean, what else to say? If you feel like I'm a fanboy towards one system or the other, that, I don't know, I've had to defend, I feel like, Sony lately with the Juices Loose crew more. I feel like there's a couple Sony haters, and I've defended them, but not because I'm like some Sony pony or anything. I just see more value than they do in the PS4, because once I got the Pro, I felt a lot better about the PS4 overall. Just it's a higher quality build. It's not very loud at all. I got the newest, latest version. I guess the older one was louder, but the PS4 Pro is probably the best non-Nintendo system I've ever owned. I haven't owned them all, but I really have no issues with it. Like the 360 was a great system. I didn't love it. The hardware, I liked the games, but it was a good, solid system. It's probably number 2 on that list of non-Nintendo systems. But the PS4 Pro is a really quality system. I enjoy it. I like, basically saying stuff about the PS4. Looks like I lost connection. Looks like we're back, though. But my Xbox One S, if I had the X, I probably feel a lot better about the Xbox One, because I just didn't feel compelled to buy games, because I bought one multiplat, Trials Rising, and it was so bad on my Xbox One S that I was like, I'm not buying another multiplat. There's no fucking way. The base PS4 versions looked way better. The Pro version is not even a question. Like, I ain't gonna buy a Resident Evil 2 on the Xbox One S when I have a PS4 Pro. Well, I didn't at the time, but I knew I wanted to get one. Either way, I didn't hate the One S. It's a nice, well-made system. It's quiet, except it makes a lot of noise when it's off for strange reasons. The hard drive's spinning constantly, but it's a good little system. Do I love it? No. Do I hate it? No. If I had a 1X, I probably would have bought a lot more games for it, but I also benefit from the jump to the next gen will be way bigger for me than somebody who bought a 1X. If I had a 1X, I don't know that I'd be that compelled to get a Series X, honestly, anytime soon. Same with the PS4 Pro. If I didn't have the Pro, I'd probably be itching a lot more to get the PS5. But anyway, I've said enough. People are dropping out here, so I'm going to call it a night. Thanks for watching. Yeah, it was kind of a last minute deal. People in Europe clocked it. Retro Death, if you're watching this. Yeah, you'll have to watch this on the replay. Capable Ty, honestly, anyone acting like there's some huge difference between them at this point is either a fanboy or a hater in my eyes. They're about equal. Exactly. Just look at how Digital Foundry, they got the Series X early. They made a lot of videos. They're excited. They liked the hardware. The backwards compatibility stuff was right up their alley, so they could show the benefits of the loading times and frame rates. Sony fans, you guys have been paid off by your shills. Microsoft paid you off, blah, 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 blah. They make one 30-minute video talking about PS5 backwards compatibility and how happy they were at how good it works. And all the Xbox guys, you guys are paid off by Sony. You guys are so biased. And it's like, shut the fuck up. I'm so sick of the fanboy stuff. Like, every once in a while I'll engage on Twitter, but most of the time I just see it. I read a few and I'm just like, really? Just have to be reminded sometimes how pathetic people are. If you think that the Xbox Series X is just like the best thing ever and PS5's absolute shit, you might want to look in the mirror. There's something, if you're an adult and you're not some like 15-year-old kid, because I get it when you're young, you spend your money on something and you really latch onto it and you want to justify your purchase and stuff. But if you're an adult, you're working, you got responsibilities. I get it. Maybe you can only buy one system. Maybe you only want to buy one system, if you're just going to play multiplats. But if you can't see the value in either system at this point, then you're definitely biased. Whether that's good, bad, wrong, right, I don't know. You're definitely biased. You're definitely not thinking clearly or logically. You got something against one of the companies, like clocked it. He got burned. His PS4 hard drive got corrupt and he lost all his save files. So he lost a lot of interest in playing the games and starting over it. I don't blame him. Is that Sony's fault? Or can you directly say that Sony made a bad hard drive? It's not even their hard drive. It's Western Digital, I believe. But he had a bad experience. So he's a little salty. I get it. But does that mean the PS5 is going to be trash or be bad or have defects? No. A lot of people had 360s, Red Ring of Death. Did that mean the Xbox One was going to be trash? Even though the launch one, it didn't have any issues, but it was just $500 with the Kinect. It was stupid. But still, Nintendo had the Switch. They have the Switch. It's having Joy-Con drift. It's having cracking housings, the kickstands that don't stay on anymore. Does that mean the next system's gonna be bad? No. I'll wait to see it. What it's gonna be. But fanboys will be fanboys. Haters will be haters. Yeah, Sony's hardware isn't as good technically. Objectively, as the Series X, but they're both gonna have games eventually. Really good exclusive games. Well, Microsoft's aren't exclusive, but Microsoft Studio games, Sony Studio games. They're both gonna have the same multiplats. They're gonna look very similar, run very similar, and it's just like, the whole Game Pass thing. To me, that's not a selling point for the system. That is, if you have the system and you missed out on some games and they're on Game Pass, might as well get Game Pass and try them out. Do the trial. try, like, if you're not sure about Doom Eternal and you didn't buy it at launch because it's not your type of game, having it on Game Pass isn't suddenly going to make it your type of game, but you could try it for $10 a month. For a couple months, you could play a couple games that maybe you were on the fence about. That's where I hold Game Pass. I don't hate Game Pass. It's not a bad thing, but if you want to own games, that's not the way to go. If you want to play games when they come out, that's not the way to go. Like, I want to play Doom Eternal on March 20th. I bought it, played it. The fact that it's on Game Pass in October or whatever doesn't do anything for me. It's too late. The fact that Hollow Knight's on there doesn't do anything for me. I played that game in 2018, 2017. I think it was 2018. So it's really for me, that's how I see it. Some games that you're not sure about, not sure you want to buy, like Jedi Fallen Order, I think is going to be on there for the Ultimate. If you pay $15 a month. I don't know about that game. I didn't go out and buy it. If I saw it for $20, I might pick it up on the chance that it's, because a lot of people say it's good. But if I had Game Pass trial for a month, I'd check it out. I wouldn't play through it and beat it because that's not what that's there for. For me, I've had the trial 3 different times and I've just tried a few games. And I didn't like that game. No, I didn't like that game. And it's okay, but a month goes by, I put 2 hours into it, and I just don't feel compelled, because I didn't spend money on it. I don't feel compelled to finish it because I was never interested in it in the first place. I kind of know at this point what games interest me, and I don't necessarily need a trial, but demos are nice, like Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I was going to get it, but it wasn't till the demo that I realized, man, I'm going to love this game. I love this demo. 4 hours into this demo, I love this game. I was still going to get it, but playing the demo let me know that I'm going to love the game. Opposite with Wonderful 101. I thought I was going to love the game. I played the demo. Didn't really care for it. Waited like 4 years to buy the game and play it. Like, that's just one of the things that Game Pass to me is a way to try games you were on the fence about. Because if you know Cyberpunk 2077, if you know that that's the type of game you're going to love, it ticks all the boxes for you, are you going to wait 6 months to see if maybe it comes to Game Pass, or are you going to play it? Like, if you didn't buy it day one, then do you really want to play that game? Like, unless finances are really tight, I could see Game Pass being something that would interest somebody who, because you can't say that it's $1 or whatever, because that's just a trial. Then it's $10 or $15 a month after that. And if you have the $15 subscription for a year, that's $180. Yeah, it's three full price games, and you get to play more than that, but it's still money. That's $180 in a year. If you didn't find too many games that really appealed to you, then what's the value of the service? You can't sit there and say every game on there is valuable to any one person. I doubt there's anybody who looks at that list and says, yeah, I'm going to be playing these games for the next 3 years. There's nothing on this list I don't want to play, because half of it's rare replay. Not half, but 30 of the games are rare replay, and they're on there twice. And then there's a bunch of Xbox Live games from the 360. There's a bunch of old games on there. So to me, it's just like it's a rental service for backwards compatibility. Like, eventually it'll have new games, like day and date, new big titles like Fable, like Forza Motorsports, like Avowed and Hellblade 2, but at this point it doesn't have those. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to get out of here. Went on way longer than I wanted to. I was hoping this would be like a 30-minute thing, but whatever. I killed some time, and now I'm feeling a little tired, and I can go back to sleep. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.